to provide knowledge, ilm, to take them away from ignorance and to provide them with the knowledge to go towards Allah. There is a hadith of our Holy Prophet which states, Ana Madinatul Ilm wa Aliyun Babuha. This hadith also points you in the direction as to whose doorway you should be going to find that ilm. My guest, Brother Naim Malik, came to that doorway, and I'd like to ask him to just briefly tell us a little bit about his life.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful, the owner of humanity and the owner of the universe. Salutations to the Prophet and the purified Ahlul Bayt.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. We left, I think, last time when we were talking about the path of knowledge and ilm, and we discussed the Prophet's hadith, which states that we have to go to China, if possible, to get knowledge and use that knowledge for our benefit.
That's right.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has sent us the Quran, the living Quran, in two formats. When you start looking for ilm and you start walking on the path of ilm, the written book that is present in our hands is one form, but it does not answer 9.9 questions of what you are in this world. When you ask the Quran a question, it doesn't answer you. It tells you the guidance. It tells you there is a path of that direction. But then Allah also puts, so that you are not misguided, right, 12 vicegerents, 12 teachers, 12 guides. Okay, these guides that I'm talking about now are not just normal guides. They've been prophesied in Christianity, in Judaism, okay, that these 12 purified ones are from the house of the Prophet. They're from the children of Ismail, right? So when we discuss about the Holy Prophet's house, it is on the understanding that in Nabuwat there is also Wilayat. Okay, the difference between this ilm that I'm talking about now is Nabuwat is got a station. It's a unique station where Allah is talking to the Prophet. The Prophet acts on that knowledge and gives it out as he hears it. Okay. Sometimes the Prophet then clarifies some things that people are not sure of. Okay. But he can't do this 24/7 because revelation is coming to him continuously. So he is, in computer terms, a hard disk full of knowledge that people can access. Okay. But sometimes we need clarification. And for clarification, the Prophet has said clearly, you know, I am the city of knowledge, as you said, and Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam is the door of that city. Okay. When I started looking at this deen, you know, and I said to you before that I came from a background where I was looking for the purity. Okay.
Can you just tell us a little bit about the background that you came from?
Okay. The school of Maliki, the school of Abu Hanifa, the school of Shafi'i, and the school of Hanbali. Okay. The whole family that I come from are from the Ahl Sunnah, and they believe in the 4 Imams, okay, who are, shall we say, on the position of infallibility. The way they distribute deen, okay, they're portrayed as infallible. Yeah, that because this Imam has said this, we have to follow this fiqh according to that. Now, things happened in my life which I looked at things and I said, well, I question this infallibility on these people. Yeah, and why do I question this infallibility? Let me give you an example to you. In the Maliki school, which most of Morocco and Tunisia is, when you do salah, you let your hands free. So you don't hold your hands on your waist or tie them together, yeah, as most of the majority do. And when I actually looked at this issue in the Quran, there is no guidance on this. You know, then you have to look at the hadith that the Prophet, did he do this? Well, according to the four schools, the Prophet has done all of these. He's tied his hands on his waist, he's tied his hands on the chest, he's let them loose, right? But I'm asking myself a question: if the Creator is sending ilm to a purified human being, because the Prophet is purified, the Prophet is pure, then there's only one action that the Creator has taught him that must be the correct action.
Otherwise it'd be confusing, wouldn't it?
Otherwise it'd be confusing, and you'd have disagreement as we have today, because the four schools disagree with themselves,
Sure.
right, on many issues. Okay, but when you start analyzing these four schools, like I said, you have to look at the four schools of thought of how they were formed, and asking the questions to the alims in the mosques. Did this imam, was this imam the companion of the Holy Prophet? Is he in the presence of the Holy Prophet, so he has become a religious duty, i.e. transformer of this deen into what it is today? Have they portrayed what the Holy Prophet has asked? And the answer is no, because the four schools are after the Prophet's death. They're not in the companionship of the Prophet, so we can't call them the companions of the Holy Prophet, right? They've gathered information, okay, from a certain source.
You know, when you first started following this belief, because you inherited Islam,
Yeah.
you obviously were born into a Muslim family. At what point, you did a lot of traveling, didn't you?
I've traveled the world a lot, yeah. Disagreement as we have today, because the four schools disagree with themselves,
Sure.
right, on many issues, okay. But when you start analyzing, to look at Islam through different eyes,
Right.
not the stereotype vision that we have today, that doing the ibadat makes you a Muslim. Okay, it wasn't enough. You have to look at all of the schools of thought. You have to look at all of the alims. You have to look at the actions. And sometimes, when you, in the UK, I think we are closed from this environment. You know, we think that the Islam that we have in this country is unique only to us,
Yeah.
and that everybody else is following this Islam. But it's not the case. You know, when you go into Iran, the Islam is different. When you go into Saudi Arabia, the Islam is different. Tunisia, Morocco, Lebanon, right? Okay. Now, when you are a questioner and you're a scientific mind, you want some proof before you accept the fact. Okay. It has to be backed with more than what is being displayed. I.e., you need the answer from the Quran and from the Sunnah of the Prophet. Okay. Good example is this: when we used to do wudu in East Africa, you've seen the scenario of putting your feet in the sink and balancing yourself, and, you know, washing back of your ears and all this sort of thing, you know, gargling, and, you know. I used to ask the question: is Saudi Arabia has got no rivers, and yet water is such a precious commodity, right? And would the Holy Prophet have wasted this much water, right, to do the wudu? And the answer comes back: no, because the wudu of the Prophet is very unique. Yeah, and the Quran on this is very open, and it states clearly there are two washes and there are two wipes. And these words, washes and wipes, cannot be intermixed for the actions. I.e., you wash your face, you wash your hands, yeah, and you wipe your head, and you wipe your feet. Now, this commandment is coming from the Quran itself, right? If you were to change washing to wiping, then this is your interpretation. This is not the Quran's commandment. Whatever you're doing is on your head.
Sure.
I.e., it's not the commandment of Allah. Yeah. So if you want to wipe your head, okay, and then you want to wash your feet, this is your problem. But the Quran commands wiping the head, wiping the feet. Okay. This is a very straightforward issue.
And these are the sort of thoughts that came through your mind whilst you were analysing, you know, your life.
I'm looking at my life, I'm looking at my deen, I'm looking for the purity, and, you know, as I said to you, I had to go through many doors, all doors, right, to gain this truth and purity. And, you know, when you look at the Sufis and you look at the sects of the Abdul Qadir Jilani sects, you look at all the Brailvis, you look at, I went through all these.
Right.
You know, in my university years, debating with them on the university level, talking to them. At one point, I think they must have understood me to be as, shall we say, not even as a Muslim, because I'm questioning, right? the fundamentals of their belief that they are believing blindly. I'm telling myself, I don't want to become a blind believer in this issue. I want to have the facts, then to back up my deen, right, with the fact.
So it's correct to say that religion isn't a tradition?
No.
That should be followed blindly?
No, if your father was a Hindu, you would be a Hindu. And the Holy Prophet said, do not follow this religion blindly. It's dangerous to follow this religion blindly, because this is a guidance to mankind. Allah sent this Quran, I said, first of all in book format to you, then through the teachers. Okay, if we want to study anything, right, let's just say study medicine. My wife studied medicine. She can pick up the Gray's Anatomy, but she will learn surgery, okay, but she will not understand medicine as a whole concept of medicine, i.e. combined medicine. She needs a teacher, somebody who has done what the book is saying.
Okay.
Right? If you don't have that teacher, right, you cannot learn.
No.
You know. But if you think that, as most people said, the Quran and the Sunnah is enough for us, right, then your teacher here, the Holy Prophet, right, himself has said many things. I'm leaving you teachers, right, which you refuse to accept. This is partly because of our arrogance. Our arrogance plays a whole part here, right? And I want to actually come to now on the ilm that the Holy Prophet says, right, of his statement. And you know, today I brought the hadith clearly. It's about a learned man. The Holy Prophet said, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, the Prophet said, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he who learns for the sake of haughtiness dies ignorant. He who learns only to talk rather than to act dies a hypocrite. He who learns for the mere sake of debating dies irreligious. He who learns only to accumulate wealth dies an atheist, and he who learns for the sake of action dies a mystic. Subhanallah, when you read these words, right, of the Holy Prophet 1,400 years ago, right, I had this model in my heart. I had this model in my heart. I do not want to become a teacher, right, and be called an alim with a beautiful turban and robes. I don't want to become such a person that when my dua is heard, everybody starts crying. Yeah. I want to die, right, as a mystic. What is a mystic who dies? How does he die? He dies working on his knowledge. He dies taking his knowledge and distributing it to the ones he loves.
Sure.
Right? But 99% of Islam today, there are two forms of Islam: the hidden and the apparent. Okay, the apparent does not investigate the hidden, but if you investigate the hidden, the apparent gets automatically disallowed from you, because the actions in the hidden Islam are truth, the apparent are temporary. Yeah. Some people might not understand this issue. When you are actually searching for the truth, I always wanted to know exactly what the Holy Prophet came with. I did not want to learn what his student has learnt. This is a very clear clarification, and it's a very, very harsh reality. I do not want to learn from the students of the Prophet. Right? I have no intention of learning from the students of the Prophet. I want to learn from the Holy Prophet's mouth, from his hand, from his blood, from his pen, right, and from his thoughts. Okay, this was a conviction in me after looking at, right, the Islam that has been taught away from his house. Okay, i.e. the other four schools of thought. Yeah, they have actually done a lot of work on gathering the knowledge, but they've not actually come to the house of the Prophet to learn. Because if you did come to the house of the Prophet to learn, you would see that Ali ibn Abi Talib, there is no one better on this earth in his ilm. There is no one better than he in battle. There is no one better than his justice. There is no one better in his morals. There is no one better in his conduct. You know, when you see this particular issue, that today we have people who call themselves moral, and when you see they act, they're doing something on the TV, and then in real life they're doing something else, it shows you that Islam has got a stage player name. So on the screen is something else, and outside the screen is something else. So in looking for that particular truth, after going through these 4 schools of thought, as I said to you, it found me. I did not find Islam. It found me, right? Because looking in East Africa, looking in the Gulf, looking in Saudi Arabia, and looking everywhere, I went to Allah with a clear heart to say, fulfill me with knowledge, right, of the truth, guide me to that path which I cannot be misguided from again.
No.
Right? And my dua was, literally take me to a station where my yaqeen becomes strong, right, and my strength to stand against kufr, and to stand against jahiliyat, right, and to stand against ignorance becomes so strong that I build myself up to serve Allah to the best of my ability. So I wasn't going out there to impress anybody or impress anyone. Even now, today, I have no intention of impressing anybody, right, of anyone, to say, look, I found the truth, right. My goal in life, as the Holy Prophet, was to show the truth, whether they accept it or not. That's up to them. And this is what a true da'i does, right. He looks at the religion, he analyzes the religion, and then he gives you, says, look, this is what the fact is. Whether you accept it or not, that's up to you. Yeah. But the school of Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad, who is the son of Imam Zain al-Abidin. Who is Imam Zain al-Abidin? Imam Zain al-Abidin is that person who is the eyewitness in Karbala. He's the son of Imam Hussain, right? He has seen Karbala with his eyes, right? His son is so learned that we can't imagine, right, that the human being writing this sort of books, that when we read their biography and their history and their story, right, that these are human beings. Okay? Because what I've quoted from the Holy Prophet, when you read from the Imams, it is exactly as if the Holy Prophet is speaking. It's not anything different to the Holy Prophet.
Hence the hadith that I read earlier.
Yes. Yeah. When you see the Holy Prophet speaking in 12 centuries, 12 different centuries, right? It stated to me clearly that, one, this house has found me, but now what do I do with it?
Can you elaborate a little bit about your journey, your physical journey, where you found? I mean, I'm intrigued to just hear.
I told you about when we were in East Africa, and I heard this azan, right? Let me elaborate on this azan, right? Okay, this azan was done in such a way, and that I said to my wife, these are heretics, right? Let's get away from here, because I don't want to hear this azan. This is heresy, right? But deep inside, I knew what I'm saying is out of ignorance, right? Because I've never ever confronted the Shia yet. I've gone to all the schools, but I've not confronted the Shia face to face yet. And why would I want to anyway? Because I've got a model plan in my head that they are kufr. They're not even classed as Muslims, right? So in a place that I'm living, for Allah to send me somebody who is a Shia, right, and whose charisma, whose knowledge is so great that not only do I start changing from his akhlaq, not his knowledge, his akhlaq, that I see the ignorance in me. Okay, I see the ignorance in me. But I want to digress certainly here, because like I said, first of all, you've got to look at what kind of ignorance was in me. Yeah. Let me just elaborate on this ignorance now. I was in Egypt, on holiday with my wife, and I love Egypt, and seeing the Salahuddin Mosque, seeing the Husseiniya, wonderful sights, seeing the Pharaonic period, and also seeing some of the pyramids. And of course, my wife loves traveling, and I gave her a surprise that I took her to the pyramids and the Mena House Oberoi, which is underneath the pyramids.
All right.
We were staying there, you see.
Okay.
I got a phone call, and I was in Egypt, and it was my mother, and she said to me that a certain member of the family had died. Okay. You got to remember that I'm on my journey of research, but I have not conformed to Islam yet. I'm still learning about Islam. I'm learning the conducts, the ways, the schools, and everything. What she says to me is that my uncle he died as a Shia, right? Not only is this profound, right, but I said to her, what makes you think he was a Shia? Now, the story that she tells me when I come back home, she says to me that he died in Birmingham, and the people who came to collect his body were all Shia.
Right.
Right? And that the will he had written, okay, was with his own hands, that he'd given the Shia the right to bury him, to clothe him, put his coffin and everything, and the Sunni had nothing to do with this.
Right.
And she was actually abhorred by this. And she said to me, he hid his faith from us for over 50 years.
And they didn't realize until he...
Nobody knew in the whole family, the whole of our clan, right, that this individual who's got 2 boys and 2 girls, right, that he'd been to Najaf, that he'd been to Damascus, he'd been to the Haram. He traveled the world. He was a headmaster of a school, right?
Right.
But then suddenly to find out at his death that he was the follower of the Ahlul Bayt and that he was from the Ithna Sharia, right? That shock, right, hit me hard, because one, I'd known him for a long time, right? I knew his character. I then started questioning, why would a man deceive us all with such a deception, right? Because it's not normal, this.
No. No.
But looking at his life, right, I then understood that if he had shown himself for what he believed in, right, the whole family, the whole people would have disowned him, right? Because they don't have the knowledge that he had. Being a headmaster of a school, you can't call him illiterate.
No. He was a learned man, wasn't he?
He's a learned man, But this was a bit more than just incident and blip. When his funeral came in, a lot of the people, a lot of the Sunnah went to the Shia mosque to see his janazah, right? And this is when you see that this is bid'ah, this is kufr, this is bid'ah, this is kufr, right? That these people, without asking the Shia, make the assumption, right? So they're looking at something, they're coming to a conclusion, this is kufr, this is bid'ah, right? I didn't do this. I looked at it, and I had the privilege of living with my aunt for a short period after, when she moved to Sheffield. Now, when she moved to Sheffield, she moved with her daughter and her son-in-law. So I had contact, but I was in the process of change now in a very, very, profound way. My change was happening very rapidly. So all the pieces inside my body were fitting in now into one direction. I was being moved to one direction only. That this school that I've actually hated, these people I've hated, these people who are standing against me, these people who've been called kufr, these heretics that I've called heretics, these people who are not even Muslims, right? Okay, I'm leading towards that. So the life that I'm leading now is being directed towards that, right? I remember sitting with her and said to her, "Tell me what your Aqidah." I openly came out with this statement to her in her house. And she said, "Let sleeping lions lie, because why do you want to know this?" And I said, "I want to know because I have to be sure what I'm doing is the truth." And she said to me that you don't need to know this, because what my husband believed in, that's his belief, not yours. Now she's thinking that I'll become this because he was a Shia, right? I'm copying somewhere to get notoriety. And I said, "No, I don't know this." I even asked her, "Give me the turba that he had." And she gave me the turba, right, from his prayer mat. Right. And I said, "Because none of you will use it," right? So I might as well take it. So I got that and I brought it home. It's when you see this ignorance, okay, that the people who do not practice Islam, right, who do not fully understand Islam, are calling people who are religious, people who are learned, kafir. That finally clinched me to thinking I'm batting on the wrong side. I have been, I'm on the wrong path here, right? I'm on the wrong goal here, right? Okay, I've got to turn my life round in such a way, right, that I've got to make a stand, right? This stand happened, I remember waking up very early in the morning, and I couldn't sleep at that 3-4 nights, you know, and I said to my wife, I said to her, look, I'm finding this difficult. If I was to say that I'm becoming a Shia, what would you say? She said, yeah, no, you've been talking about this for a long time, that, you know, now you're looking for certainty. And I said, the certainty is there, the conviction is there now, right? But now, I don't want to hide it anymore. I've got no intention of doing taqiyya. You know, I've got no intention of hiding this from anyone, right? And she said to me, if you believe this is the truth, then you have to follow the truth, because eventually your research has come to fruition, right? You come to a conclusion that this is who you are. And I said, yes, this is who I am, you know, and this is who I want to be. This was the point. It's not I've become, I want to become this, right? The parts of my life that are, shall we say, enlightening, right, to get to this point of yaqeen. As I said to you before, in our family we've got fantastic characters. Yeah, they have played an immense big role in my life, right? I.e. my uncles, you know, they played a huge role in my life. Not necessarily in the uplifting manner, right, but in the Jahiliyyah, right? Let me give an example to you.
Okay.
Nobody had done Hajj in the family, right, until they came to the UK, right? And you know, one particular gentleman in question, he decided to go to Hajj, right? And now, at that point in my life, the conduct of Hajj was such a pure station that when you achieve this goal in your life, your whole life changes.
Yeah.
It has to, yeah, because you can't be the same again, because you've gone into the house of your Creator, the direction that every Muslim prays to 5 times a day, right? The direction where Imam Ali was born into, the Kaaba, the Lord of the Kaaba, right? Okay, His house, Allah's house, right? A purified house, that you could not come back and go into the world the same as you went before, right? This issue happened with me, and I saw this particular gentleman, and he came back, and there was no change. There's no physical change, because after this issue, the gentleman worked in a pub.
All right.
You can go to the haram and you can come back and you can work in a pub serving alcohol, right? So looking at this issue, and I asked myself, does he know the conduct of the Hajj? Does he know the value of the Hajj? Questioning him before, says, what did you do the Hajj for? And his statement was that I did it for my father.
Who had passed away, apparently?
Who had passed away, yeah. This is my grandfather.
Right.
So I thought, that is strange, because you're supposed to do the Hajj for yourself first. You cannot do the Hajj for somebody else until you purified yourself first and done the commandment yourself first. You're commanded not to do it for anybody else, because you have not fulfilled the duty yourself. So now, you know, this question now is lingering in me and it's burning, right? If this is the ignorance that we are living with on this level of age, yeah, what is the other issues in this, what do you call, ignorance? Yeah, you then start to investigate, right? Why don't these people pray 5 times a day? Right? Why is it that they enjoy the world, they enjoy all the dunya, they like to travel, they like to go to cinemas, they like to drive cars, they like to have money, everything, but they don't do the salah 5 times? That alcohol to them and what do you call, drugs and all these sort of things have become openly accessible, and they don't see anything wrong in it. Yes. Now, in myself, I'm building a picture up, right, of what Islam is not, right, and what Islam is. Okay, and if you notice, it's very black and white. There's no in between grey here. There's no grey matter here at all, because these actions that are being portrayed in front of me, right, are leading me only to one direction. Yeah, that these people are quite confident in saying, yes, they know the conduct of Islam, they know what kufr is, but they don't know themselves who the kufr are, because their own kufr is portrayed on somebody else.
Yeah.
Because it's easy to say you smell, and then you don't smell yourself what you smell like, right? This is an
analogy.
Yeah, yeah. This is so. In that aspect, I'm looking at my life and I'm saying, well, do I want to become a facsimile of them, right? And a facsimile of them is what? Having no knowledge, right, of the deen, and asking an alim in a mosque, right, for a fatwa to correct their mistakes, right? And those same alims, right, okay, can tell them anything they want. They have got no way of checking it. They would never check it, right? And they didn't check it, right? When I talked about building up what you call goals yourself, when you're in Jahiliyyah, your goals are even bigger, right? And your mountains are even bigger, right? This was one issue that they used to have. Even now today, there are certain members of my family. You've heard this word peer many a times.
Yeah.
It's equivalent to a saint, a living saint, right? Now, Islam doesn't have living saints, okay? Islam doesn't have organized sainthood, right? But these living peers, right, who are, shall we say, nameless at the moment, right?
Let's keep them.
Because they go into homes, right, and I've seen this physically, which they can sit in a room that you're not fit enough to sit in front of them, right? They will eat from the plate, and the followers of this peer will eat from the dirty plate afterwards, right? They will sit on top of beds and you are below, right? When I looked at this and I said, what kind of this is not even Islam. This is worse than Jahiliyyah. Because the Holy Prophet said that those who raise themselves above others, right, are not from this ummah. Those who pretend to have more, right, are not from this ummah. Those who distinguish between color, culture, right, and also your background of, i.e., you're not from this, what you call, name, you're not from that name. These are, Islam has destroyed all this. Yeah. But these guys have now elaborated on them, perfected them, right, and are selling it as a good, what you call, bid'ah. We've heard this before. This is a good bid'ah, right? Because now, even bid'ah before, in the Holy Prophet's time, there was only one bid'ah, right? And that bid'ah was forbidden. Nobody does it. But then we have bid'ahs now, which are good bid'ahs and bad bid'ahs. Okay. I started questioning myself on this, is this the purity of Islam? Is this the dissolve, right? Have they dissolved this Islam? And when you analyze what they've done, or what they believe they've done, or what they're following, right, it's not even the basic tenets of Islam. Yeah? Because not to do 5 times Salah, and only to do the Jummah, i.e. the Jummah is more important, right?
When the 5 time is first.
When the 5 time is first. Okay. But then when you look at the other issues that you can't, as an alim, as a researcher, you can't question their companions of the Holy Prophet, i.e. they have the same station of infallibility as the Prophet. Okay. Well, a teacher and a scientist, when it looks at a body, it has to dissect it, to analyze what is in it. When we look at the companions of the Holy Prophet, right, some of them are so pious that they don't even digress from the basic foundation teachings of how to eat. They are close to the Prophet. There are others who actually interpret what they want to on their own basis. Then there are others who promote their interpretation teachings against the Holy Prophets. Okay. So the Quran says that, O Prophet, your companions are not all the same. We cannot accept all just because you saw the Prophet with your eyes, right? He became infallible. You cannot question him. This is a very dangerous situation to be in. that you cannot question the Holy Prophet's companions, right? Because Islam is based on the Holy Prophet. Islam is based on the Ahlul Bayt.
And acquiring knowledge.
And acquiring knowledge. It's not based on the companionship or friendship.
Or blind faith.
Or blind faith, And yet, if we turn the tables, you can't question the Holy Prophet's companions. You cannot question the 6 books which are called Sahih. There is only one book in the world which is Sahih. We Shia have got no audacity to call our book Sahih. Right? I still find this amazing today, that 6 books can become Sahih, the word Sahih, correct books, when they contradict each other, when they've got interpretations in there which are wrong. Where are you getting this Sahih from? Because the only book on the planet Sahih is the Quran. But the Shia have never called any book of theirs, any book. I've never come across a book, this is Sahih, right? But not only then one book Sahih, you got 6 books Sahih, which is a contradiction in itself, right? That 6 are correct, right? Well, if 6 are correct, why not 12? Why not 24? Why not 164? Why not 2000, right? Well, we're going to stop with this correction of correct. In no time, the Quran won't be recognized, because all these Sahih books, right? So, first of all, we have to look at where the station of the Quran is, where the Quran stands in all this. In my eyes, my personal view, the Quran is the first book. There are no Sahih books after this, right? There were books before this, but even they were not called Sahih.
Hence the Holy Prophet's hadith, when he says that he's going to leave the Ummah 2 things.
2 things.
Which are?
The Ahlul Bayt and the Quran. And the 2 will not, these words, when you actually base your life on these 2 words, okay, again, analysis says that I'm leaving you 2 things. They cannot separate from each other. They will come back to me intact. Okay? Look at these words. The Quran, the book is not going to go to the hereafter. It's paper. How can a book go back into the hereafter? It didn't come in a book format, because Jibreel did not bring a book and say the Holy Prophet is the book, right? How is it going to go back, right? We have to analyze this, right? Let's say, well, how is the book going to go back, right? The book is a metaphor, right? The walking Quran, the talking Quran that is embodied in the Ahlul Bayt is the one that's going to go back, right? Okay, the references, these are going to come back to me without question. So if you follow them, yeah, you'll not be led astray.
No.
If you abandon them, you surely will go astray, right? There's a fantastic, what do you call, hadith, and I think the hadith states, my Ahlul Bayt is like the ship of Noah. Those who came on board were saved. Those who left the ship were destroyed, right? Now, what does it mean to come on board the ship? Well, you come on board the ship, right? You have to follow the conduct of the ship. What is the conduct of the ship? You'll be in this attire, you'll be in this conduct, right? You can't do your own thing. If you've done any cruises in your life, I have done the cruise. There is a muster station that tells you that if this sounds, you must come here. In the evening, the food will be displayed here. For entertainment, there's this, right? So there is a conduct, right? Now, the Holy Prophet is leaving us a conduct, saying to you that my house, not only is it purified, right? My house not only is the best, right? But most important of all, when they came to gift the Holy Prophet for serving Islam, they said to the Holy Prophet, we want to give you a gift. And the Holy Prophet said, I ask no payment from you. I want nothing from you, right? Except the love of my Ahlul Bayt. 3 times he said this. I don't want any gift from you. I don't want any money from you. I don't want any wealth from you. I don't want any business from you. I don't want anything from you, except that you love my Ahlul Bayt.
Subhanallah.
Subhanallah. When you see that particular issue, the Holy Prophet is saying, I do not desire anything from you, right? For my benefit. But I'm giving you something, right, that you will not go astray with. You know. But the issue here, again, when we started looking at these fundamentals of research, right, that these are goals that the Holy Prophet has set. They've not been set by any individual, right? My main goal was to look at the iman of myself What is my iman, right? And how am I testing my iman against what the requirements of the Quran and what the Holy Prophet is asking me, right? When we look at that and I fall so short that I don't do 5 times salah, I don't do what do you call the akhlaq according to the Holy Prophet, I don't give zakat as the way I should do, right? I'm not even in the basic tenets, right,
of Islam.
Of Islam. So what gives me the authority then suddenly to say, well, you are not doing basics, but the ones who are doing everything are kafir? Yeah. This astonished me, it's astonished me in such a way. I used to think, well, what is it? Because I think my wife asked me one time, well, what is it they do that takes them to kufr? Why is it that they are outside the fold of Islam? Yeah. That even then actually streamlined my research. What is it in the deen of the Shia, right? Because I never asked the Shia this, ever.
All right.
Okay, before all this, right, okay, because the Shia are the last person
That you want to talk to.
that I want to talk to, okay? But now, when everything has been streamlined, everything is going to one direction, every knowledge is pointing to the same house, right, okay? Now I've got to find who the Shia are, right? And now, coming to the Shia, you have to ask yourself, right, where are you going, right? Which Shia are you going to ask this question to, right? Are you going to ask any Shia, right? Okay, let's ask the Shia this question. I asked one of my brothers in the university, and I said to him, you Shia, right? He said, yes. And I said, well, you believe Ali is the Prophet, isn't it? Isn't that the case? And they said, brother, where did you hear this? Who said this to you? Right? I said, no, I've heard this, right? You believe Ali is the Prophet. You believe that the prophethood should have gone to Ali, right? That you curse our Prophet, right? And this chap looked at me and said to me, said, this is the greatest ignorance and stupidity I've ever heard in my life, right? He said, if we believed that Ali ibn Abi Talib was the Prophet, right, we would not be Muslims. We can't call ourselves Muslims, right? Because that denigrates the Holy Prophet's nubuwwat, right? And I said, well, what do you believe then? Tell me what you believe, right? Why do you hold Ali ibn Abi Talib so high, right? And I said, yeah, I know about something about Islamic history. He said, what do you know about Islamic history? I said, well, Islam actually flourished with the Holy Prophet's sacrifice. And he said to me, I said, yes, that's correct. It's the sacrifice of the Holy Prophet, and who else? And I said, well, I think it's him only, isn't it? What else? Who else is there? He said, no, then there are other people involved in this. There's not just the Holy Prophet, because the Holy Prophet is the messenger of God, right? But there are people to help him in the background. They've been put as pins, right, to move him forward, right, as the slaves of Allah. And he says to me, he says that every battle that the Holy Prophet in defense has fought, one name is outrageously top of all this, right? Not only is it top, but it can't be matched, right, in its equal. So I said to him, I said, I bet you're going to tell me that is Ali ibn Abi Talib, isn't it? And I said, well, you look for yourself. I'm not going to say it's Ali ibn Abi Talib. You find it yourself, right? Because if you tell me there's something better in Uhud, away from Ali, in Badr, away from Ali, right, then find me those people. And then I should be following, right, those people's teachings, okay? And this was very profound, because when we looked at this knowledge, my wife and I, right, I started looking at a lot of the books on the battles of Islam,
Right.
on what, how Islam went through the suffering in the battlefield, okay? And, alhamdulillah, and I can say this with great conviction, if Ali ibn Abi Talib had not been present in those battles, there would have been a loss. And the amount of Muslims that have been killed, right, if Ali did not have the valor, the strength, right, and Dhul Fakar, right, to kill the kufr, to put the Prophet's message forward, right, it is his sole strength, right, it is sole action, one-mindedness, right, to support the Holy Prophet in such a way, right, that the Holy Prophet says, you are to me, right, was Harun to Musa, right? And when you read this statement, right, every prophet had a supporter. Every prophet had a supporter, right? We forget this, we blind ourselves, right, okay, that the Prophet's friendship is more important than his blood, right? And even today now, friendship has got no station, right, than with blood, because blood holds the strongest station, right? It never, a friend can never ever, right, take a place of a brother.
No.
Ever, it cannot be, right? But we are taught that friendship alone is enough, right, to uplift you and to put you to a station, okay, that is unachievable by anyone. And yet the Holy Prophet has never said this. He himself has never said this. Because when you read his words, okay, on his companions, yes, they were righteous, yes, they were doing the thing, but we don't have to learn the deen from just the companions. We have to learn the deen from the blood and the mouth of the Prophet, right? When we start analyzing, I said, when you analyze individuals, yeah, and I'm not going to go into names, right? Individual history states that their understanding of Islam and the understanding of Islam in the house of the Prophet is contrary, different. It's different completely. Because in the house, they've been told wudu of the Prophet is this. Then outside, the wudu is something else. And if you don't believe me, you can see the Holy Prophet correcting somebody's salah and wudu, right, when they've heard somebody else teach that person. I mean, you must have heard one of these fantastic hadiths which says the Prophet saw somebody doing the salah like a peacock. Okay. No. You see, but a person came into the mosque and the Holy Prophet saw this person doing salah. His salah was like a peacock, to show the people, and it was so fast.
Right.
Right. And the Holy Prophet said to him, who taught you this salah? And the gentleman actually answered, said so and so, so and so. And the Prophet said, no, please let me show you the salah. Right. And the Prophet corrected his salah so beautifully, right? It says, this is the correct salah, right? So that man was taught directly from the Holy Prophet, right? Hence, it tells me, right, he learned salah before, right, but not from the Holy Prophet. How many of us have learned the salah, but not from the Holy Prophet? Again, there's another issue here. I think Imam Hassan and Hussein, alayhi salam, showed wudu to an old man, how to do wudu. Because they saw an old man doing wudu, right? And Imam Hassan and Hussein, this is beautiful the way they explain this to the old man, right? Look at how intelligent and how beautiful their akhlaq is, right? They say to the old man, we are brothers, we're doing wudu, but we don't know which one is correct. Okay? Can you tell us who is correct and who is wrong, right? They start with the wudu, and the old man says, how beautiful the house of the Prophet is. You didn't insult me, but you showed me the true wudu. My wudu was incorrect, but yours cannot be incorrect. Right? And subhanallah, look at the correction of the house of the Prophet. Nobody is being demeaned, nobody is being told you're wrong, nobody is being told you're doing it this way, that way, but the actions speak for itself. Yeah. Now, today, when we analyze this deen, and we analyze the truth in this deen, some things come to mind, right? If we have done the wudu wrong, if we have done the salah wrong, right? These are the basic complementary, right, to our deen, a must, right? How many other things are wrong? How many other things are we doing wrong, right, that we're not getting the benefit, right, from Allah on this, right? You have to actually analyze every aspect, every action, right, and then apply it to yourself so it becomes a ritual. Yeah. But until it becomes a ritual, until it becomes a habit, until it becomes ingrained in you, right, you will never understand it. Because a person doing 5 times salah cannot enforce this to a person who does it when he wants, right? Because the desire of that person, he lives on his desire, whereas the person who's ingrained, he's trying to get away from his desire. He's fighting his desire, right, to not to do the things, that are what you call in the world, right? But it doesn't mean that Islam is a religion of strict conduct. It's religion, salah, salah, salah. No, Islam has got such a beautiful foundation that we have calligraphy. If you look at our calligraphy, look at our science, right? Look at our architecture, look at our history. Okay, what we have given the world today, right? It's not just deen. Islam is the forefront of what? Human rights. Islam is at the forefront, right, of what? Warfare, how warfare is. What is the conduct of warfare, right? Islam is the first religion to tell us that we are not fighters to send out because somebody we disagree with, we send out to kill them. The first thing is to bring those people in, have negotiations with them, right? And diplomacy, right? It's in Islam first, you know. Because when the people of Christianity came to the Prophet, there was an open challenge. And the Holy Prophet said to them, well, look, this is another issue. This is another issue on knowledge and ilm. It comes back to me, you know. The Christians came to the Holy Prophet, said, we want a challenge that if we are wrong and you're wrong, or you're right, we're wrong, whoever is wrong to be cursed forever. This is called the event of Mubahala, right? Now, when you look at what the Islam is today showing us, right, you know, the companionship that I'm talking about now. The Christians said to him, we want this challenge so that whoever loses in the challenge is cursed from Allah forever. Holy Prophet said to them, he could have said this first. Let me say what he said first. He said, you bring your men, I will bring my men. You bring your women, I'll bring my women. You bring your children, I'll bring my children as myself, right? And that's all he said. The Prophet could have said this, could have. He didn't. You bring your companions, I bring my companions. You bring your friends, I bring my friends. You bring your army, I bring my army. Look at the difference. Look at the difference of these two, what he calls, sentences, right? And look at the challenge here, right? Now, the Christians accept what the Prophet said, bringing in the wives, bringing in the women, bringing in the men and the children. So the Christians, when they're in agreement with each other, they said to each other, he's going to lose this. Because tomorrow, if he brings his companions, right, then he will lose. But one of them said, what if he brings his household? What will happen then? They said, no, let's cross that border when you come to it. Tomorrow morning, they wake up. And these are the Christians' words. These are not the Holy Prophet's words now, right? They see Imam Hassan, Imam Hussain, Bibi Fatima, the Prophet, Imam Ali coming out. These are the five purified, the Panjtan. The Christian remarks here, look at the Christian's remark. If these faces today that I see in front of me were to ask this mountain to move, right, this mountain would move for them. Just imagine, this is not a Muslim. He's come to destroy Islam. He's making a statement today, right? If these faces were asked to move a mountain, this mountain would move for them, right? Subhanallah, look at this issue, right? Then again, we look at the issue, we started with Nabi Adam, the creation of Nabi Adam. Nabi Adam, when he wanted to ask for repentance, right? For repentance, how does he supplicate? When Nabi Noah supplicates for the ship, how did he supplicate, right? And you know, it's fascinating when you actually analyze this issue, that the children of Adam and Adam himself asked for a wasila of the five. He said, by the mercy of the five, right? i.e. the Prophet, Ali ibn Abi Talib, Bibi Fatima, Hassan and Hussain, right? By their rahmah, forgive me. The Holy Prophet has said clearly, these five, right? We have to understand their station. Not only understand the station, right? But who they are in our eyes. Yeah. Where do they stand, right? We are forgetting now, this is nothing to do with Nabuwat. Nabuwat is a different issue. Yeah. But the whole of Islam is not based just on Nabuwat. You know, Nabuwat is the guiding light for us, right? But behind the guidance, there is also strength to carry forward the message and the teaching. Okay? If that was weak, Islam would have died in the 2nd century. But because it is strong, because it is on such a pinnacle that these people who the Prophet has assigned as guardians and custodians of the deen, they will never die. Why will they not ever die? Because I want to leave a lasting message here. The world, the Jews, the Christians, Hindus, Buddhists. If you look at any nation today, right, if you ask them, is there a reform coming? Is there a change coming? Right? Every one of them, every one of these religions, every one of these nations, right, will tell you, yes, there is one coming, right? And what is his qualities? Look at his qualities. They'll describe the qualities. He's going to be just. No tyrant will stand against him. He will be from the house of the Prophet. Because their books, i.e. in the Hindu books, the Mahdi has been proclaimed as well. Okay. In the Christian books, the Mahdi has been proclaimed. In the Jewish Torah, the Mahdi is there. Okay. So it's not an idea unique only to Islam. Right? The Holy Prophet's profession of coming before he came was in the Torah, was in the Jewish books, was in the Hindu scriptures, was in the Buddhist books. Okay. So the coming of the Mahdi, the savior of mankind, the reviver of the Prophet's religion, right? He doesn't come as a prophet, because the Prophet of Islam is Khatamun Anbiya. He's the seal of prophets, right? But the reformer doesn't come in that. But look at this issue of the reformer. The reformer's coming is with the Prophet walking the earth. The Prophet said, what is your condition going to be, okay, when Isa ibn Maryam, yeah, is praying behind the Imam? So a prophet, born prophet, right, is going to pray behind the Imam. What does this tell us? This tells me clearly that the station of Imamat, right, is a very lofty, very high station. Okay, it's not a normal station, right? It's a unique position. It's a position of command and control, right? But not only will the reformer come prepared to reform the world, because nobody has controlled the world single-handedly. Yeah, there's not been a single human being who said that they've taken the command of the world single-handedly. But the reformer is going to take the command single-handedly, right? We have to find our Imam. The Prophet said, those who do not know the Imam of the time, right, die a death of ignorance. Surah Yasin tells you all of the knowledge that Allah has given you is in an Imam. We will resurrect you behind your Imam. Okay, I want to leave these thoughts with the people, that the importance, right, of looking for Imam is not going to be in a mosque on a member. It's going to be the Imam of the Holy Prophet, right? And if you can find that Imam of the Holy Prophet, right, you have found, first of all, the jewel of Islam. Okay, then that jewel will polish you. You can't polish the jewel, right? So if you are strong in your Imam, right, and you can actually analyze deen, look for this Imam first before you die in Jahiliyat. Because Jahiliyat, without an Imam, right, anything you do, what you've done, is not going to be counted. Because you have not analyzed the religion, you've not analyzed the guardian, right, and you've not submitted to the guardian. Whole of deen is based on submission. Islam starts with submission to Allah. Islam in the middle is submission. Islam in the end is submission. Even the beginning of the Quran, Surah Fatiha, opening the mind to submission, right, tells us clearly that you who understand, you who are learned, right, we are talking to you directly. So it doesn't mean everybody's learned. Doesn't mean everybody's educated. Doesn't mean everybody's a Muslim. Doesn't mean everybody's a mu'min. There are standards set by the Quran on people that we see in the world, you know. But to clarify this issue, this Imam that we're talking about, we are talking about the facsimile of the Holy Prophet. He's got to have the qualities of the Holy Prophet. Right. Except for prophethood, he's not prophet, right? We're not asking you to look for a prophet anymore. Prophethood is finished. Prophethood completely ended with our Prophet. But now it's the Imam's time. So you have to ask yourself, right, what kind of an Imam, what kind of a reformer am I looking for? If you're doing the research, that is. If you are not and you're happy in your deen, alhamdulillah, may Allah guide you.
Thank you, Brother Naim, for your comments and your fascinating story through the life that spanned, and your journey that spanned 15 years?
15 years in study, 15 years in practice.
30 years altogether.
More or less.
It's a long, long journey. And I hope the viewers have found this as fascinating as I have. Please keep watching our programs. Inshallah, we will bring Brother Naim back for further programs, and we'll also bring on other guests who will share their journeys, their spiritual journeys, how they've progressed, where they started from. And inshallah, that will help. Relating experiences helps others to analyze, to research what they believe in. If it raises points of discussion, even better. If it raises points that question what you're doing,